Okay, we are live. Welcome to the ACM podcast, hosted by the American Conservative Movement. My name is Jeff Dornick. I am one of the co-founders of ACM. I'm being joined today by Pastor Ken Peters, who's also one of the other co-founders of ACM. But before we get over to Ken, wanted to briefly just remind you guys as well, mark your calendars coming up July 15th, which is actually a Wednesday. We're switching up the date of the Saving America conferences. And so we're going to try it out on a Wednesday evening. So mark your calendars. And, this is going to be, I believe, our fifth edition now of the Saving America Conference. So the last few editions, we've had guys like Burgess Owen speaking. We've had guys like Michael Johns, who's the co-founder of the Tea Party. We've had Jerry Wayne, who's the union worker who confronted Joe Biden. We've had Mindy Robinson. We've had Buzz Patterson. We've had so many awesome speakers. And, we're definitely going to have an awesome lineup this next time as well. So make sure you guys tune in. We're trying to do these about every 3 weeks or so. Really get you guys the information to guard yourselves, prepare yourselves to be able to get out there, push the conservative message, and actually take back our country. This is how we do that right now in light of coronavirus, especially in light of the fact that just today, breaking news, Governor Gavin Newsom is now putting out orders that, hey, California's heading back into shelter in place. Who knows how long this is going to last? So out here in California, this is how we do things. We do these online conferences, try to gather together as many conservative voices as we possibly can, and then help to get you guys equipped to actually save this country. And then for more information on what we're doing with the American Conservative Movement, head on over to AmericanConservativeMovement.com. You can join the movement there. You can fill out the form with your email list. We'll keep you updated on everything that's going on and all of that. So without further ado, wanted to get us over to Pastor Ken Peters. He's joining us up in Spokane, Washington. Ken, welcome to the podcast. And for everybody as well, just want to remind you, Ken is one of the co-founders of ACM. Really honored to have you a part of this, and really glad that we're going to battle together. I mean, this is really a battle over ideologies and a battle over the soul of our country.
Jeff, we are truly kindred spirits, and I love being part of the American Conservative Movement along with you. And thanks for, you always care about me when I go through a hard time, man. You're always there for me, and you see me take a punch, and you're right there punching back for me, man. And so that's what I would call a true friend. So thanks for being a true friend, brother.
Of course, always. And that's the thing that, as, both Christians and as conservatives, I think, that's the kind of mentality, I think, in general that I think we need to have. We need to have each other's back. The thing that I always keep saying is that the left, they always have each other's back. They're always walking in lockstep. They are doing everything. It's like they're taking their mission and they're going for it. And I think conservatives oftentimes can be a little bit splintered off, and everybody's kind of doing their own thing. And so I think that to me is part of even what we're doing here with ACM, is trying to figure out, okay, how can we unify? How can we have each other's back? How can we make sure that somebody's not just off on their own? Let's unify together, get the message out, get the word out, and actually work together to, fix this craziness.
Yeah, it's like the left is playing to win, and we don't seem like we're even hardly in the game. I mean, some people are, but a lot of people aren't even playing. And so if the left is fully engaged and they're playing to win, and we're half-hearted about this thing, it's not going to end well. So, I pray that God would use us, Jeff, to be sort of catalysts and maybe wake up the rest of our team, because we have a big team. They call them the silent majority. We need the silent majority, I think, to start becoming the vocal majority. That's my prayer.
Absolutely. So before we get into the craziness that's going on, because right now, pretty much you're going up against Planned Parenthood, which is the big leftist machine, well funded, all that kind of stuff. But wanted to give people a chance to understand, like, what is it that you're actually doing? So you're the founder of the church at Planned Parenthood. Explain to people, what is it that you guys are actually doing, and what are you guys trying to accomplish there?
Well, we established a new pro-life ministry, and what we do is we have worship services just like you would have in church on Sunday morning. Of course, you're from California, Jeff. Do you remember what church is like. It's this place where people, anyway, we have church. We have church, and we worship, and we pray, we give, and we preach the gospel right there on city property by Planned Parenthood. So it's literally what it sounds like. It's the church at Planned Parenthood. And we are driving Planned Parenthood crazy. They can't stand us. And my thinking is if they're not doing anything wrong, why would they care about us singing songs after hours, mind you? They're not even operating anymore, Jeff. It's after hours. Why would they even care that we're there singing songs and praying? Why does it bother them so much? And that's my question. But it's amazing what singing and preaching and praying will do to the left. They're scared spitless from it. They don't know what to do about it. We got them all confused just singing songs.
Yeah, well, and recently you guys had pretty much had a battle with your local Planned Parenthood, with your city council, in dealing with like noise ordinances and the time of when you guys are having your services, and it seems like they've been trying to throw a lot at you guys to do whatever they can to silence you guys.
Yeah, Planned Parenthood hates us so much having these church services that they paid for the campaigns of a bunch of pro-Planned Parenthood city council members who got elected because the church is not being involved in politics, and Planned Parenthood is involved in politics. So Planned Parenthood runs the city council. They funded all their campaigns, and then instantly, right after the new session began, because we just had a city council election last November, as soon as the new session began, one of the first things they did was try to shut us up, stop us from singing. And they passed a sound ordinance. And it was a brutal sound ordinance. You can't be loud at all. So now we're stuck trying to work with this sound ordinance that's barely above speaking level. And we're trying to have church, and very quietly. And but here's the deal. The sound ordinance kind of backfired on them, because they used to come to all of our services and play cowbells and kazoos, and they'd scream and yell. And so what it did is it shut them up. They're not even showing up anymore hardly, except they're holding up a couple of signs, but they're not doing anything to cause a ruckus. Meanwhile, we're not stopping. We just sing quieter. We just turn the PA system down and do our best to stay within these brutal new sound ordinance laws. And Jeff, this is not about patient care. Planned Parenthood is making things about patient care. It's not about it. But bottom line is, they couldn't stop us with the sound ordinance. All they did is stop themselves. All they did is quiet themselves, shut themselves up. So now they're really mad. So because the sound ordinance didn't stop us, guess what? Now they're going for the jugular. Now they're filing an injunction against us to try to stop our events. And they are suing me personally, as well as a couple of the other leaders that are on our team. So it's brutal. It's brutal. It's a bloody battle, but here we are.
Yeah. Well, and before we get to this lawsuit, I just wanted to, ask a clarifying question, right? So you guys had Black Lives Matter protests, quote unquote, protests happening up in Spokane, if I remember correctly, correct? Did they enforce any noise ordinance out there with those rioters?
Jeff, thank you for bringing that up. I might have forgotten myself. They did not enforce any sound ordinance policies. They did not enforce anything. People rioted, people looted. Now, it wasn't as bad as it was in Seattle, but because we're smaller, but it was similar. If you go downtown Spokane, it's boarded up. There's graffiti everywhere. It looks like a ghost town. Hardly anybody's around. You're looking over your shoulder. I did it a couple of weeks ago, and it is it's like a war zone. It's like a war zone, and they're going to pick on the singing Christians. With the singing Christians, That's what they're attacking. Meanwhile, leftists have looted the city, destroyed our city, graffitied our city, and no big deal, because it's Black Lives Matter. So hey, it's all good. So there is an absolute hypocrisy going on from the left, but that's what you have when the left is in charge. It's craziness.
Absolutely. Well, and that's one of the things about our Constitution is that it clearly states that peaceful protesting is protected, right? But it seems like with the left, they're trying to ban peaceful protests, whether it was the protesters that were trying to open back up America, whether it's organizations like you guys that are just literally singing songs and praying, as if that's anything crazy and unpeaceful. But then they protect the rights of violent protesters as if that is protected, which it's clearly not. It's this backwards thinking that where they use the Constitution to their benefit, even if it means that they have to twist words and twist things in order to fit their narrative. And that's the real crazy thing about all of this. I think so I wanted to give you a chance to explain. Okay, so first let's deal with this injunction. What is it that they were actually trying to accomplish with that?
Well, they want to get us off the grass right beside their facility. They don't like the PR. They don't like we're not doing anything wrong. 2 years, never an incident. 2 years, never cited by the police. 2 years, never a window broken. Nothing graffitied. We've been nothing but gloriously peaceful. But what they don't like is that we are being the light of the world, and we are shining a light on their sin. Their sin is the sin of murdering God's life within the wombs of these moms. They get paid per death. Let that sink in, Jeff. They get paid per life destroyed. That's how they make their money. That's the only reason we're there. We wouldn't be there if they were just handing out birth control or, helping girls, giving girls hugs, all this loving stuff that they say they do that makes their murder okay. We're there for one reason, and that is they're destroying God's creation, the life that is moving within the womb. Babies move in there, by the way, Jeff. Babies move in the womb. You can see them kicking. You can they're alive. I'm sorry. Science itself says these babies are alive. They're destroying babies. So this injunction is to get us away from their facility because they don't like the photo ops. They don't like the bad press. What they don't like is peaceful protesting. I think you said it so well. The city is protecting non-peaceful protests, violent protests, and they are attacking peaceful protests. Like I said, almost 2 years now, and not one ever problem, because the people that are out there worshiping with us, by and large, are 99.9% are very, very good Christian people.
Yeah, and again, that should just show everybody what we're going up against as conservatives and as Christians. We're going up against this ideology that it's not rooted in any moral standard. See, so and this is the thing that we have to understand, is that they're essentially willing to do anything in order to accomplish their goal. They don't have the moral standard that we have as conservatives, and I think to a certain degree in the battle it does give them an edge, because to them there is no right and wrong. It's just win the fight. And that's the crazy thing I think about all of this. So with this injunction, they're trying to get you off of the grass that's in front of Planned Parenthood. From what I remember from when we were dealing with things before with the sound ordinance and all that kind of stuff, that's public ground, if I remember correctly. Correct?
Correct. We are on public city property.
Right. And so, weren't they even trying to actually buy that property from the city so that way they could take that away from you guys from being able to worship there?
Yeah, we're dealing with a billion-dollar industry, and we're a bunch of nobody. I'm a poor preacher, right? We're dealing with a bunch of multi-billion. It's a multi-billion-dollar organization. They have all the lawyers. They know how to pull every trick out of the hat. Yes, they tried to purchase that city property, as their own property to get rid of us. They've tried the sound ordinance. Like I said, they ended up just quieting themselves. And so their last resort, by their own admission, it says that on their Facebook page, we didn't want to do this, quote unquote. Yeah, right. But we're at our wits' end. Enough is enough. It's our last resort. So they're filing that injunction as well as suing us personally.
Yeah. By the way, we have a comment over from on Facebook. Harvey says they simply don't like truth. If what they were doing was on the up and up, they wouldn't have a problem. If they were really about healthcare, they'd be okay with it. TCAPP starts when Planned Parenthood closes. There is no interference. There is no blocking doors or driveways. They are below the ordinance for quote unquote noise. It's an important distinction to make with all of this, is that you guys are jumping through, it seems like, every single hoop that they throw at you, and then they just like, oh well, they're able to accomplish that, so we're gonna throw another hoop at you and see if you guys can jump through this one.
Yeah, it's so obvious. Anybody that wants to know the truth and has any sort of discernment at all can tell that they don't want us there peacefully protesting. They want us gone. They don't like the First Amendment. They say they do. It's just lip service. If they didn't care about peaceful protesting and we're doing it after hours, we're not disrupting. Come on, one day a month, Jeff. One day a month. We start when they close. How is that? How is that disrupting their baby murder factory? We're not doing that. They simply don't like what we're saying. They don't like our message. It's not about patient care. It's not about protecting their patients. They don't like our message, and they're doing whatever they can, everything they know in the book, and they're throwing it at us. It's like $1 billion. It's like David and Goliath. It's $1 billion industry against a poor preacher, and they don't like my message. That's all it is.
Right. And so now, like we were kind of alluding to earlier, now they've done everything with the city. They've tried to, file injunctions. They've, dealt with the noise ordinance and all that kind of stuff. And now they're actually suing you, and not even just the organization, but you personally. So what is it that they're claiming in this lawsuit that they filed against you?
They're suing me for damages and not for damaging the city grass, which they've been very concerned about in the past. I mean,
at least that's one set of life that they seem to care about, is the grass. They don't care about human life; they care about grass life.
You got to hand it to them. They actually do care. They are pro-life when it comes to grass. They're just not pro-life when it comes to God's greatest creation of all, which is mankind. So they're suing me, Gabe Blomgren, Seth Haberman, new campus pastor and state representative, by the way, Matt Shea, and my director of operations, Clay Roy. They're suing 5 of us, and they're suing us for damages. So I guess we have damaged the, psychiatric health of some of their patients. I'm sure killing the life inside of these women doesn't cause any psychiatric damage or any of this brutal stuff that they do in there. But no, the singing Christians, singing songs under their sound ordinance, these singing Christians singing after hours, we have caused huge psychological damage to their staff and to their patients. And I say, no, murdering children causes psychological damage. They take 20-year-old girls, Jeff, who don't have their, all their sense, teenagers and young adults. They're all a little crazy, right? Many of them don't know the Lord, and they force, a lot of these moms and boyfriends will be pressuring these young girls. Now, some of the girls are probably just evil, but a lot of the girls are being pressured by some other force, and they don't feel like they have a way out of it. So some of them get pushed into this, and then when they're 40 and when they're 50, I've got elders' wives in our church, Jeff, who were pressured into an abortion when they were a young girl by parents. And then later on in life, they've got to deal with that. Like, they think about what that child would have looked like. They think about what they would have named that child, how old that child would be by now. It's a real deal. Psychiatric trouble is a real deal, but it's not because of the singing Christians after hours. It's because they're killing babies in these girls' wombs, and then these girls get older, and then they wonder, they think, many of them think, and they have major regrets, and that does cause psychiatric problems. So I think that I should give a countersuit for psychiatric problems on them. But yeah, that's what they're suing us for, Jeff, is patient psychiatric problems.
Yeah. Again, you're talking about prayer and singing songs. And it's not even like, I could understand if it was like heavy death metal, like angry, yelling, screamo type. I mean, you guys are singing hymns. You guys are singing like positive, uplifting songs. And it's like, okay, so number one, we're dealing with, and this is just my perspective looking into this, right? We're dealing with several different constitutional rights that Planned Parenthood, and to me it seems like your local city council, is trying to take away from you guys. Number one, they're trying to take away your freedom of religion and to be able to express your religion, how you see fit without restriction from the government. We're seeing them try to take away your freedom of speech. We're seeing them try to take away your right to peaceably assemble. They're taking away constitutional rights in order for, I guess in their mind, these young girls that are coming in there to have abortions, for them not to feel guilty is really what when push comes to shove, this is what it seems that it's coming down to. So they're willing to take, and this is again an indictment on the left. They're willing to take away your constitutional rights in order to protect their pet projects. Ooh. And this is absolute insanity. And we need to figure out a way as conservatives to be able to protect our constitutional rights and not allow these leftist organizations and the leftist governors and government to come in and enforce it in this way. It's all of this is just pure unconstitutional insanity.
Yeah, the left does not care about the Constitution. I think the Constitution is probably the biggest irritation of the left. If they could eliminate number one and number two amendments from the Constitution, they'd get their leftist scissors out today in a heartbeat, and they'd cut those amendments out of the Constitution. And quite frankly, Jeff, it's the First and Second Amendment that's keeping Christians alive right now in this nation. And so they'll gladly take away the First Amendment in order to achieve their leftist utopia, where they call it reproductive rights, where you can kill life inside the womb. That's what they care about. Their LGBTQ agenda, the Marxist socialist agenda. That's what the left cares about. They care nothing about the Constitution. When are we going to just say it? It's lip service. They don't care about the Constitution. The Constitution pains them. It irritates them. They want it gone. They throw it away today if they could. But you're absolutely right, Jeff, is the truth.
Yeah, and so then, moving forward, it becomes this idea of this could set a precedent moving forward. I think this court case that you're going to have, if it gets to that point, but essentially this lawsuit that's going on between Planned Parenthood and yourself, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, because I think it's going to set a precedent either way. Are we going to be protecting constitutional rights of Americans to peacefully protest, voice their opinions publicly, gather together peaceably, and that sort of thing? Or are we going to essentially strip away constitutional rights under the guise of protecting an organization like Planned Parenthood, which, I mean, it's been exposed by organizations like Project Veritas that they're not even just killing babies, but oftentimes they're even going so far as killing babies after birth, and then they're even going so far as to then selling those for a profit on top of the profit that they've already made of actually having the abortion. So you're talking about, by any measure, an evil organization. So is our government going to protect that, or are they going to protect law-abiding, Constitution-loving Christians and true American patriots? That's the question that I think we're facing as we head into this lawsuit.
That is the question, and this could be big, Jeff. This could be big. This case, like you just kind of defined the battleground. You just described what's at stake. And this could be, I'm not saying it is, but it very well could be that case. It could be the battle that is fought in the courts that says, who's going to win? The Constitution or the leftist agenda that hates the Constitution and cares more about their quote-unquote reproductive rights. And you spelled it out beautifully. That is the battle that we are waging today. If you got any discernment at all, you can see that there is a globalist, Marxist, leftist, and it combines with Islamist and the LGBTQ plus community. They're all fighting for the same thing. What's funny is they'll all hate each other in different environments, but in this United States environment, they want to destroy the United States because the United States is the only thing stopping their goals. They all have the kind of the same goals, even though they're different groups, but they have one thing in common: the United States of America. The United States of America, the Constitution, is stopping each of their individual agendas. It's protecting Israel, which to the Islamists is the great Satan, or the United States is the great Satan, and Israel is little Satan, or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. But nonetheless, it's Satan to them, right? It's what's stopping them. So they want to implode the United States. They want to see a civil war. They want to see us attack ourselves from within. They want to see this country eliminated so that they can then propagate what they care about, and then they'll probably all turn on each other. But that's the situation we're in, Jeff. In this case right here, it could be one of those defining moments in the history of our country.
Yeah, and one of the things that I did want to point out, and have you explain too, is that when there's always police that are at your church services, right? And a lot of it's there, protection, safety for both sides. Because like you were explaining earlier, you do have counter-protestors, the people that are pro Planned Parenthood and that sort of thing. But I remember when you were on on my podcast before, you were explaining, that the police have even been able to notice the difference between the church at Planned Parenthood and the counter-protesters that are supporting Planned Parenthood. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. The police, they deal with all kinds of crazy stuff, all kinds of criminal activity. And when you go out to one of our services and you've got these people dressed up in witches' costumes, you got drag queens, like the drag queen people out there, you can completely tell if you've got a wanting to see eye at all. Like Jesus said, let him who has eyes, let him see. Let him who has ears, let him hear. If you've got a seeing eye, and many of these policemen do, many of them are very good people, you can clearly see who is good and who is evil. They know. They see us. Listen, we wouldn't even need to have policemen if the leftists weren't there, if the protesters weren't there, and if everybody would just let us do our deal. Let us sing. Let us call out to God. There'd be no skirmish at all. We wouldn't need policemen at all. Why? Because we're all God-fearing, America-loving, police-obeying Christians. And we're going to obey every law. Listen to what the police chief, Meidel, said this week when he was questioned by the newspaper when we were being attacked. Here's what Chief Police Craig Meidel, who is a very good man. And let me say this. Chief Meidel is not on our side. He's not picking a side. He just has enough guts to tell the truth when everybody else is lying and smearing. And here's what Chief Meidel said about us. He said this to the newspaper, and Life News eventually picked it up and put it on one of their reports. He said this: the Spokane police have been at every church service since September, and they have not had any problems with the churchgoers. Imagine that. He said this: I have been assured by everyone who is there that they have been following the law. That's what the police chief said. So, yes, we have gone to great lengths to be upstanding citizens, and anything you hear about us that is negative, that is what the left tries to do is they try to make you into an extremist. So they'll find one guy that shows up for your meeting, and he's part of some group, and they take that group, and then they take you and they try to marry you together and make you them. That is their great trick. It's a smear tactic, and it's just how they operate. Because like you said, they don't play by rules. They play to win. We're Christians, so we have self-imposed moral boundaries. We make sure that we don't flip people off. We don't curse at anybody. Why? Because we love Jesus. We're there to bring glory to him. We do have rules, and we're going to continue to play by those rules because our weapons are not carnal, but they are mighty. Our weapons are not carnal, but they are mighty to the pulling down of strongholds, and we fight with prayer, with worship, with giving, and with preaching. That's how we fight. It's better in the long run.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and then also to also point out the kind of organization that you're going up against as well is, if I'm remembering correctly, it wasn't too long ago that there was a fundraiser for Planned Parenthood where they literally were auctioning off an effigy of you, and I mean, like this is not like a peaceful counter movement or peaceful counter protest or something along those lines. I mean, they flat out are trying to do everything they can to intimidate and destroy you guys. And I think that's where, we as conservatives and we as Christians do need to fight back. We do need to take a stand, and we do need to make sure that they don't win. I mean, this is literally for the soul of our country, and we got to do everything we can to kind of counter that kind of mentality.
Yeah, I know this might seem selfish, but if we don't all fight for the guy that's going through it, whether it's me or anybody else, I don't want to be self-serving, but we got to fight for each other. They're playing to win, and Planned Parenthood, these are not good people. They have no trouble lying. They absolutely lie with no conscience. These drag queens, these leftist groups, they have no problem lying. They want one thing. You said it. They want to win, and they don't have any rules about how they win. So you're absolutely right, Jeff. This is key for our country, and we need guys like you to step up for me. Now, I didn't ask you to do this podcast today. I didn't ask you to fight with me and for me, but you did. You said, hey, I want to help. Pastor Greg Locke interviewed me on his radio program earlier today. Why? He cares. He wants to help. I didn't ask Greg Locke to help me. Shonda Pierce, the famous Christian comedian, stood up and fought for me and fought for us. She didn't have to do that. So, but I think it's important that we do that. I think it's important that people respond the way you've responded, the way that Greg Locke and Shonda Pierce have responded, because, how many are we going to let die before they're all gone? And we don't have the numbers, or people are too scared because there's been too many martyrs, too many people gone down. So these times are crazy, Jeff, and it is time for us to stick together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So then if people want to be, follow along with what's going on, or just want more information on the Church of Planned Parenthood, what's the best way for them to do that?
Right now, I know we're trying to all switch to Parler. Eventually, we need to, Facebook is fascist book, and they censor, and every mistake I make from here on out is 30 more days in Facebook prison, instantly, and you can't argue your way out of it. So we're all trying to shift over to Parler. But right now, the best way to find me is not only on Parler at Pastor Ken TCAPP, that's my handle, but also on Facebook, Pastor Ken Peters TCAPP. That's the best way to keep track of me. I put everything there. I put the updates there. I put our service times there. And we're going to be taking this singing Christian movement around the nation. We're going to be doing evangelism. We're going to try to get these things going across the country and still keep the one in Spokane going. So we got big dreams. If Planned Parenthood thinks they're going to shut us up and shut up the singing Christians because they sue me for what? I don't even have that much, Jeff. I don't have much to take. They have billions of dollars, and they're going to sue me. But if they think that suing me for my Toyota Corolla with 300,000 miles is going to stop us from singing at their death camps, then they got another thing coming. Because unless they kill me, we're going to keep on doing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, yeah, Ken, it's one of those things. I always enjoy talking to you. With this, I wish it wasn't under these circumstances, but at the same time, it's like we got to do what we can to get the word out, get the message out, and that sort of thing. So, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here.
Hey, thanks for caring, Jeff. You're a class act, man. There's not many better.
Well, I appreciate that. So, thanks so much for coming on. Everybody else that's watching as well. Make sure you guys do follow Ken. Support the Church of Planned Parenthood, however you guys can. And then as well, mark your calendars coming up July 15th. It's going to be our next Saving America conference. We've got guys like Ken Peters oftentimes, speaking at these things. So make sure you guys tune in, check that out. And then thanks so much for tuning in. Like, subscribe, all of that. It really helps wherever you guys are watching us. Make sure you guys do that as well. And stay tuned. We will see you guys next time.